Boom. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today in this ever mystical, wonderful, changing world of NFTs in the play to earn sector. We have Aggroed, the CEO and founder of Splinterlands. I'm excited to chat with you today, Aggie. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the Arcane Bear. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. You know, the video game sector is new to me. Was never really a tech or video game person, but I've absolutely fallen in love with this space now. Not just because of the upsides, but it's just fascinating to see it grow. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and how we got here today?
Sure. Like you said, I'm CEO and founder of Splinterlands. And I came here by the weirdest way possible. I'm a PhD chemist. I was teaching at a university or like a military college, and and I started using an online homework system in my class to go help my kids learn it. And it really helped my students. So I told the publishing company about it, and they hired me to go talk to other professors about how this software can help them. And that company got purchased by one of the largest publishing companies in the world. It's a business called Macmillan. They do $5 billion of business per year. And I ended up leading a fair amount of sales across the eastern half of the United States for them. So I went from chemist to sales and sales engineering and some marketing pieces that were part of that. But personally, I've been like a game designer for a long time. You know, I was playing like D&D and making stuff up when I was 8 and 9 years old, trying to make maps for my brother to play and things like that. So I've always liked game design more than I like the games themselves. So I found crypto in like 2015, 2016. And it took me a little bit to understand it, but my goals, I looked at the world and I said, what's wrong with this place? And I thought, wow, there's way too much war. There's way too much poverty, and we really have this entire surveillance state that's all around us, and it's driving me insane. So the antidote to war is peace. The antidote to poverty is abundance or prosperity. And the antidote to this sort of Orwellian overarching system is having more freedom. And when I went looking for tools that could do this, I got introduced to crypto, and I eventually fell in love with crypto, thinking this is the most powerful tool in my arsenal to go actually build something that can replace whatever is there, and whatever corrupt systems that I don't like. Crypto can replace all of it and do so peacefully with abundance. And because of the pseudo anonymity that you can do here, you can build a reputation, but you don't have to give away your like physical location or your like government ID or whatever. There's like a way that you can be a presence but still be pseudo-anonymous. And I think that's a really powerful position, because you are free to speak your mind. You're not jeopardizing your safety, but you can still have your opinions out there. And like I said, crypto does all of this. And my partner, who is a game developer since the age of 9, he just always knew, everybody always knew all he was going to do was build games. And he would build games that had a cash money component to them, that the prize would be food, or you would win a sweepstakes where there was actual money or something that was in it. He had this emphasis on gaming, but where there was like a real value economy as part of it. And we were sitting down working on a marketing project that was totally unrelated to this, and he says, what I've always wanted to do is build a game. And we were looking at CryptoKitties exploding and just this concept of NFTs back in 2018. And we said, yes, we should do that. Collectibles is just the beginning. We should really make this thing like a whole game. And what we want is we want to bring people into crypto, and you're not going to do that just with like maybe some people come in for the financial tools or whatever, but I don't think that's a mainstream thing. Maybe you'll get a hit like Robinhood or something, but generally speaking, I think people want to come here for, there's got to be something more human than that, and not just like some abstract financial thing. And I think gaming really fits. So my whole thesis with all of this is come for the game, stay for the life-altering crypto experience. And that's the kind of ecosystem that we're trying to build, and make this as fun and engaging for people to come into, so that they get their crypto wallets, get their products, get their tools, learn about all this stuff. And then the byproduct of that is that they should experience more prosperity, more freedom, more liberty, and more peace as a result.
Oh, this is, I love this vision here. We've got a lot of similar alignments in the sector. And actually, just as a side point, I made kind of a joke. A lot of my early podcasts were with, I had Bruce Lipton, he was a PhD in epigenetic. He went to Stanford. A lot of our earlier podcasts were all with PhDs. I was like, I may not have a conversation with a PhD, so I'm glad to have another thesis thinker on the show. And I like this thesis as well. I think the adoption curve here that things like Splinterlands offers to bring someone into the ecosystem without needing to go through the KYC and to have this semi-anonymous autonomous person where they just need a cell phone or a mobile game to join in the ecosystem and sidestep a lot of things to partake in the rest of the crypto sector. So tell us about Splinterlands today.
Yeah, so we're one of the most popular dApps in the world. Sometimes we're actually the #1 on dApp radar. We kind of trade back and forth with PancakeSwap. Every now and then Alien Worlds kind of takes us over for a day or two. But we're one of the most popular dApps in the world. And it's a trading card game. It's like a Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, or Pokemon. And when you look at it, if you're familiar with those games, you'll look at it and say, oh, I know exactly what that is. And then you'll play it for like 10 minutes and you'll be like, I've never played anything like this. So it's really that sweet spot as a game designer where it's familiar, but totally different. And that's what we were going for with this. In part because, like there's companies like Blizzard out there and they make Hearthstone, right? And like, it's hard to outcompete Hearthstone and Blizzard. So we wanted an experience where you would look at it and know what it was, but I didn't want to have to directly compete with Blizzard. So our game takes about 3 minutes to play a match. So there are summoners and monsters. You purchase them in packs, and then you get rule sets. And in those rule sets, you know who your opponent is. You know the last 5 teams that they played. You know how much mana you can spend. You know a couple different like custom rules just for that match, and then you know what teams you're allowed to use. And with all that information, you have to go come up with a team with your characters, with the abilities that they have and the different combos that you have to make a team that's better than what your opponent puts together. And so it's kind of like a puzzle game almost, or like the developers really love this game. Like software developers, this is like crack to them. They're like, it's like play testing real quick of like, well, how does this little bit of code work? How does this little bit of code work? So I don't know the exact way to explain our game, but it's just this like really quick, addictive, complete strategy game. Like if you think about like the turn-based games, I play a card, you play a card, I play a card, you wait for 2 minutes to 5 minutes just to grief me. I wait 2 to 5 minutes to grief you. Everybody's wasting time. We're annoyed. And then like you throw your wallet into the screen or something. This just takes all that crap out of there. You just do the strategy. The game will play out based off the rules. And then you're right back into the next strategy round. Because what both Matt and I really liked wasn't like the turn by turn of like, you're staring at one card for 2 minutes. What are you going to do? We like the like deck building. Deck building is fun. And so this is really about how do you make a better deck for that rule set than what your opponent can do.
So I'm quite new to the video game sector. I just found out what the word aggroed was or means this morning, and the words like hyper casual or mid-core. This type of strategy styled game. Well, my question here is about the demographics. Where's most of the uptick of where's the most popular continents or language? Is it the English speaking countries or somewhere else?
This stuff is really like a global phenomenon. You'll find people everywhere. I mean, when we look at our fiat revenue, most of the revenue comes from the United States, or like the biggest component or the single biggest contributor is the United States. But then when you look at like the number of people, you'll actually have more people in like Thailand or more transactions in these, Southeast Asia than you do in America. So it's a weird mix of like, there's fewer people, but those fewer people spend a lot more money. So we're trying to figure out how to navigate, interacting with people all over the world. Our game, I think, is in like 160 plus countries, and it's translated into 9 different languages right now. So we're trying to make play to earn accessible to everybody in the world. It's a really powerful concept, and it's a giant liberator in terms of your own economic freedom. I mean, I got I got doctors in Venezuela that make more money playing Splinterlands on a borrowed account than they make as a doctor in Venezuela. So, we're really creating economic opportunities all over the world, and we are cognizant of that. And so we try to keep our barrier to entry low to be able to enter the game. We have like a really strong rental market, so players can rent cards. But in terms of like, who is here, the core of our player base are people that love these kind of trading card games and people that love crypto. And it turns out those two nerds are the same nerd. They just, if you love these kind of like Magic the Gathering and you played that as a kid, you just love crypto. And if you don't love crypto yet, it's only because you haven't been exposed to it. You love this thing. I'm just making sure that your audience knows that. Anybody that like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Transformers, card games, whatever you played as a kid, if they were these kind of card games, you love crypto. You just don't know it yet.
That's a fair assessment. So my next questions here were around this, this kind of social impact opportunity for I don't know, usually underfunded countries like developing nations. Because there's such a strong uptake and development, I see that on your website you guys have like events and different ways to participate. How do you see the guilds or DAOs or infrastructure being built around the getting more people on board, the lending of these accounts? You're seeing similar things to Axis, I'm assuming, where people are loaning out their characters or their cards to other people. What does that look like?
So we're getting some of the benefit of some of the outreach that that Axie did. There's no doubt, we are standing on their shoulders to some extent. In some fields, we are more active than them. In other fields, and especially financially, they are more active than us. But some of the things that they've done, they made the Play to Earn documentary, and now like a ton of the Philippines will go and play to earn. And we see a bunch of that too. The number 2 revenue country for us for fiat currencies is coming from the Philippines. And the way that this thing seems to be working is that, we get a lot of players that just come on their own. And then there's 2 types of guilds. We have a guild system in game that caps you at 30 people, and our in-game guilds, they're like social groups, and you just hang out with them and you compete together. And, if you miss your quest, then you have harmed 30 other people. So you always got to make sure that you come in and you play, and it keeps these communities tight, gathered, knit, and interacting with each other. And there's a lot of fun to that because you're battling alongside of each other and solving these puzzles together and kicking somebody's butt and trying to figure out how that all works. There's another tier of guild beyond that, which is sort of like these mega play to earn guilds that are forming, these yield farming guilds like Yield Guild Games, like Avocado Guild. And those guys are actually, Yield Guild Games is already here. And there's about 8 to 10 different guilds that have contacted me recently looking to go join Splinterlands. They say something like, we already have a bunch of Axes and now we're looking to diversify out of it. And so players are looking for additional games to play, and there's not really a ton of them yet. And the reason for that is that this is an incredibly hard space to build. I've been talking to a couple multi-billion-dollar free-to-play game companies, and I'll ask them questions like, well, how many servers does your game run on? And they'll say 1. I'm like, wow, that sounds like a luxury. Splinterlands runs on 27. And there's duplicates of those 27. So, all these processes we need to build out. We have interoperability between different blockchains that are fungible, non-fungible tokens, different protocols, all this stuff. It all takes different servers. And this is a super complicated space to build, because not only do you have to build in all that much more complexity, but you still only have this itty bitty screen to put it on. And so this is hard. I don't want to sugarcoat what we do. This is a hard space to build, and people are trying to crack your game and break it and find exploits all day long, every single day. But here we are 3.5 years later, still building, still growing, still selling. We're actually working on sales for the 6 card pack edition in the game. So we sold out of alpha, sold out of beta, sold out of untamed. Those were our 3 core sets. We had like mini sets, which were dice and orbs. All of those have been sold. We did a land sale that sold out. and we did some cosmetic skins. I think I have a handful of those left, but like literally everything we've ever sold is just sold out. And we're finally into a new card pack edition called Chaos Legion. And, we're in the final stages of the first pre-sale. Starting December 8th, we go into the second pre-sale where, we're metering out packs. It hurts our revenue, but we don't care, because what we're trying to do is make sure that we're not flooding the game with brand new assets. So we're going a little bit slow here, and then sometime early next year, then it's just the general sale for this thing. And so we did 1 million packs in the first pre-sale, 2 million packs in the second pre-sale, and then it gets to the general sale, which should happen sometime in January. And there we're looking at 12 million packs to go out.
Just explosive growth in the sector. We're looking at some numbers. I mean, for me, again, I've been doing more of a deep dive research into the game sector. You made a great point here. One that I'm interested in is the cult of chains like conversation. Ethereum's been incredibly slow and very expensive, and there's other great players on the table right now. What's your thought on the play to earn sector and the cult of chain conversation? Where do you see momentum moving? And yeah.
I'm a heretic, so don't necessarily follow me, but I am not a super big fan of layer one smart contract platforms. They're wonderful, so don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm against them. Ethereum is like a really phenomenal project, really cool, lots of wonderful ideas, and we stand on the shoulders of giants. They've made something amazing. But I just think that all of human ingenuity is going to be more complicated than what you can fit on one set of servers. And maybe you can make giant improvements. Some people think that Solana has made enormous improvements, but it's still like a gas fee system, and it's still a smart contract platform. And all of these things seem to work really well until you get lots of people on them, and then they all get drained and die and have a hard time. They don't necessarily die, but like the number of use cases that are allowed gets squeezed out. And so building on platforms like that to me is really risky, because you're going to spend 2 or 3 years like building products, and everybody else is going to spend multiple years building products. And unless you happen to be in the very top 1% of products on that chain, you're going to find that the economics don't work out for you. And so that's a really tricky space to be as a designer and developer. So, a couple of years ago when we built Splinterlands, and we built it on top of originally Steam, and then we forked over to Hive, people thought we were nuts. They didn't say this, but the question was, why did you idiots build off of Hive instead of Ethereum? And we saw gas fees as a problem 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago at this point. And we saw that these chains weren't designed for like huge sums of transactions. So like Splinterlands as a game currently does between 4 and 5 million transactions per day on chain. And to put that in perspective, all of the layer one of Ethereum does 1.2 million transactions per day. So I'm doing somewhere between 4 and 5 times the amount of transactions in my one game that all of Ethereum does. And I think that should terrify anybody that is trying to develop, because each one of those transactions could have, anywhere from a $5 gas fee to like a multi-$100 gas fee. Like that's just not sustainable. You're going to spend $800 million a day playing a game as a group. It's not going to happen. So we got to be really careful about how we build, where we build. And the other problem with like gas-based systems is that you typically have to own crypto first, right? So if I want to go put in a transaction and I have to have that crypto first, then the ask for like an American is go to Coinbase, purchase some other crypto, download MetaMask, transfer your funds from Coinbase into MetaMask, find a DEX that's going to allow you to transfer those assets to the game token that isn't yet listed on Coinbase, get that in there, and then you can make your first purchase. And if you're talking to somebody that's brand new to crypto and you're like, that's all you got to do, bro. Like that's like an hour-and-a-half long conversation between you and your brother or your best friend. You're sitting there being like, no noob, don't click that. No, don't share your freaking seed key. No, you're putting in a password, not your key. No, let me tell you what it's just like, it's a giant mess. So part of what we've done by building on Hive is that there's no gas fee, which means that a player can come in, use a email address and a password, create an account, and they're off to the races, and they can swipe a credit card and buy packs, and all of this stuff works. And, there's not a lot of projects on Ethereum or Solana or anywhere else that can do that like we do.
Can you, just another quick question while we're in this area, Hive is the blockchain that supports like the 3Speak
Yep.
platform, correct? Can you, I don't know much about Hive. That's really the only, to the extent I know. What and how, just in a short preface, not to go down. Just
so initially this thing came out of Steam, and Steam was they wanted to go make a Reddit clone that was like a blockchain Reddit. So they built a single specific dApp platform. And what they did is they allowed a type of data called custom JSON to be written on top of it. And custom JSON is just like leaving little notes, or like a little note card on the chain. And we figured out that you could use those notes to go build entire games off of that. We really didn't need all of Steam's infrastructure and the blogging piece. What we needed was just, if we leave little note cards and we have a separate set of servers to go read these note cards, then, I can create tokens and I can say, move them from me to you, and we can build an entire ecosystem just based off of transactions that have all been verified and published on this blockchain, even though the blockchain itself doesn't read them. And so we figured out that this is a great platform to build layer 2 dApps on top of. So Steam, the blockchain, was best known for the blogging platform Steemit, which was like a whole thing about, blogging and earning to blog. It was a Dan Larimer project. And Dan left, and Ned, who was left, was a total tool and just horrible at his job. And he ended up trying to sell this thing to Justin Sun, who I think of as a bit of a gangster. And he wanted to just fold all of Steam into Tron, and the witnesses didn't like it, and the block producers said, no, we don't want that. A fight ensued for a couple months, and the platform, a lot of the people that were on that platform forked away and formed Hive. And we're one of the few examples where Hive is actually a higher ranked blockchain than the place that it came from. Normally forks don't do as well. Now we have the fork is actually the leading contender, the stronger economic powerhouse then. But anyway, so we formed on Hive, and we still have this like blogging component, and we still have the custom JSON, and we still have apps that are being built here that are on the layer 2. And it's a neat ecosystem to build on. It's a kind of anarchist collective of people that love decentralization, that walked away from some, I don't know if he's a billionaire, but like, Justin Sun being a really rich dude, being like, we don't care if you're rich or not. These are our values, and we don't want you acting that way. So we're going to show everybody this is what you do. If you don't like people and they are being a negative influence, you can take your ball and go home. You just rip the chain in two and you go off in a different direction. And they left Justin Sun and Steemit behind. And we like decentralization. It took a little bit for the right tooling to be ready again, but we moved over to Hive, and our game has operated there since. So what's nice is that it has this blogging feature. So, and it's kind of like a blog to earn. That's what we call it, proof of brain, but it's, you can think of it as blog to earn. And what's fun is that players will come into Splinterlands, they'll play a match, and they can go blog about it, and they can earn. And they could even do 3Speak videos and earn that way. And there's different like NFT ecosystems that are forming there, and you can go buy stuff over there and blog, and you basically get to like double and triple dip into your activities by just writing extra posts or making extra videos about it. And for us as a game producer, it's been great. My total marketing spend over the last 3 years or 3.5 years has been under $100,000, which I think would shock just about any major game developer, because marketing is like half of where you have to spend your money to get any of this traction. And we haven't had to do that because we're built on a blockchain and all the users have some incentive to talk about us anyways, but now they're actually getting paid to talk about us by the platform, and they have helped spread the word more than anything else out there. And so we've grown, and it's because our fan base is sort of ravenous, and there's a platform to help us spread the word, and that's how we've grown like crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, Randy Hilarski introduced me to the Hive blockchain.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart. My thought here that was interesting too is that I actually thought post to earn, or this blog to earn mentality, was what was going to be the kind of leading adoption curve that we saw, because it provides the same on-ramp without needing to have a regular KYC or any investment in the sector to produce something valuable. Great to see that you guys are that you're getting so much potential out of not just the play to earn sector, but also that post to earn sector, which I feel is, or learn to earn sector, which I feel are also going to be quite big as well. My next question here was a kind of two-part question. The roadmap for Splinterlands, specifically, what does the next few years look like? But also, what does the next few years in general for NFTs, gaming guilds, DAOs, this whole space? What do you think it looks like in 5 years and in the future?
So for us, I don't think anything has changed just because it's blockchain. I still think content is king. And when we are able to go work with like major brands to go do what we're doing, but now with major brands, I think that's going to drive huge amounts of adoption into this space, because we're basically going to get all their years of marketing and brand and their outreach, and we'll be able to go do as much outreach as we've done in 3.5 years. We'll be able to 10x it, but do it in a day when we start bringing in the bigger brands and the bigger companies. And so I think for us, one of our goals is to go white label, or kind of like start designing additional games out of our studio that utilize national brands. And you could think of these things as like national sports groups. You could think of them as like national entertainment, or you could think of them as like, I don't know, it could be K-pop bands. I don't know, but there's a million different ways that we can bring either intellectual property or like brands, or, if you're not thinking at the high business level, just think of it as like TV shows. I'm going to go work with some movie or some TV show, and maybe one day the Matrix will want to go make a movie or make a blockchain game, and we can help produce that and use the popularity of something like that, or Warner Brothers or any of the big movie studios, and take their popularity and turn that into blockchain games, and then get that out. And I see that being a big opportunity for us. And just in general in this space, I've spoken to a lot of heads of like free-to-play games companies and AAA studios, and they all see the writing on the wall that, and I can like directly quote my players, that this is a one-way valve. Once you've experienced play to earn, you don't go back, because you're like, why would I spend even $10 or $100 playing this game, where if I spent it over here in something like Splinterlands, I would own an asset that's still worth $100. It's like, it's going from, I'm going to pay for this movie. And, you go for the movie and you have a nice experience, and you watch the movie for a couple hours, but you recognize that the money is just gone. But now you're like buying an asset, and that asset persists over however long you choose to own it. And then there's earning potential from it too. The money isn't wasted. It's just, kind of locked in this ecosystem for a little bit. And I think that model is just so much more powerful, because you'll have people that spend, I got in my game right now, there's something like 29 accounts that are worth over $1 million worth of cards. And, those guys that have spent that's not entertainment. That's not lost. They want that property, because that property helps them earn. They'll rent it, they'll trade it, they'll swap it, they'll do all these different activities. And by engaging that way, they're figuring out how they can increase their net worth through that process of them engaging with our game. And I think that just feels so much better than, here, take my $60 or make me buy some extra, game content. So here's another 200, but then the money's all gone. And, maybe I'll buy like a $10 app to like hang out with my cousin or something, but I'm not spending hundreds of dollars buying Hearthstone cards ever again. No way. I'd rather just own something.
Yeah, one of the most exciting parts for me is this network participation. Um, when we were the great examples would be like, there was no reward for anybody for the fact that Facebook grew off all of our backs, or Twitter or Instagram. It grew because we used it. And there was no return for that participation in the network effect of something when you were there and early. And it's one of the most fantastic aspects about this sector is that everything is a speculative value, but I've been so proud to see it come together like this. Again, I bought some of my first Bitcoin when they're $90, and I really didn't care about money or finance. I was mostly interested in we choose what we believe is valuable in amongst the community. It's just should be a free choice. Shouldn't be like, oh, this is the money you have to use. And what I find so fascinating about the play to earn sector too, is that, because I was a little bit shy and slow to get to seeing some of the value, is mostly focused on layer ones, like where's the value communication and chain conversations taking place. I guess, do you want to give us a bit more, while we're here still, do you want to give us a bit more specifics on your the Splinterlands roadmap specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a whole bunch of pieces that we got to get done. So one of the things that we're rolling out now is Chaos Legion, and that's like I said, it's our 6-pack edition, and it's currently active for sales, and people can buy it and people can start playing. In early January, what we're doing, we have so many cards now that we want new players to be able to get in inexpensively, and we want old players to be able to be rewarded for having as many cards as possible. And those two things are not super complementary. If you want new players in, but you tell them, well, you have to own every single card in the game if you want to be competitive, that's not really fair to them. And if you say, well, only the brand new cards count, then everybody that's owned stuff previously is like, wait, why did I buy this if I can't earn? I can only earn with the new cards. So what we're doing is we're adding another prize pool that is specifically for the people that own the newest card editions, and then we're maintaining the one that's for everybody. So you kind of have what we're calling the modern format and the wild format. And the modern format is really there to make it an inexpensive opportunity for new players to join. And then the wild format is there so that whatever cards you own, there's an entire pool that's available to the hardcore players that have been here a long time and built up their collection, and they can earn that way still too. So that's the best way we can think of to make sure that both groups are happy, is to go give them 2 separate prize pools that they can compete over. After that, we have things like we have a land expansion that's coming. So we're building kind of like a staking and mining game, but it's involving crafting. So like if you look at Splinterlands assets right now, we have the governance token is worth something like $160 million or so. All the in-game NFTs are worth something like $280 million. And then we sold this land, and the land is currently trading somewhere around the $120 million. So we're up around $500 million worth of value kind of in this game. And a lot of that is around the NFTs. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to go create, we wanted more skill in the game. We want one more level of interaction, because right now what you do is you pick summoners and monsters, but we both pick blind. But we want one more round where you have to look at the field and then deploy something to go edit after I've seen your choices. So we want one round that's blind and one round where we both had a chance to view the map. And to do that, we want to introduce items and spells. And we think this will add like a lot more complexity and variability to the game. And but when we were trying to figure out how do we want to do this, we were like, well, we could just make more packs and sell the packs and be the distributor. And that's one way to do it. But we really didn't want that, because we're crypto. We want everything to be decentralized, including our own revenue stream. So like a company like Magic the Gathering, if you go and you try to create your own card, they're going to throw you out of the tournament, and they're going to ban you from life from tournaments if you make tournaments where you can just use any card that you print at home. We are doing the opposite, where we're like, on an official level, we want you making cards, but not just any card. We're going to design them, but the people that have the rights to mint them are going to be the players that own land in the game. And so, if you are a landowner, you'll be able to go harvest resources, build buildings, and in those buildings, you'll be able to craft NFTs in these two categories of items and spells. So for anything that is PvP related, that's going to be the only way that you can get them. We're not going to sell them in packs. There's going to be like a couple that come with like the starter pack, just like the bare minimum soulbound cards, so that everybody knows what the hell this thing is. But anything that's more powerful than the level 1 soulbound starter thing, you have to go either mint on your own in your own land, or you have to buy or rent from the land owners. I think we're carving out sort of PvE, where we want to do boss fights. And that's another part of our roadmap. We're like, we're going to provide you with bosses to go fight, and maybe even raid bosses to go fight. And they're going to drop loot. And that loot is going to be, boss loot. And but it's going to be kind of PvE based. So, and it's also not something that we're going to sell. I mean, it's going to be something that the game drops that you have to compete for, but it won't be us that does it directly. So that gives you some kind of sense of, what are some of the things in our short-term radar. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up doing a couple more casual games, things that are a little bit easier to do than, these trading card games are really complicated things. You got to be a hardcore nerd to dig this stuff. And I'd like to see us make a couple more casual games. Because again, the ultimate end of this company, we want to be profitable and we want to make money, and we want to make, these hardcore games and stuff that we ourselves would like. But ultimately, the mission of the company is to bring as many people into crypto as possible. And so I think getting a couple more casual games on the shelf, and that players of all walks of life, you don't even need to be a crypto expert, and you don't need to be a game expert. You just, games that you've run into in the rest of your life. We want you to be able to play that here and get some experience earning. The challenge, you might not earn as much, playing something simple, but that's okay. Maybe you will, because there's so many more players competing over it. I don't quite know what this will look like, but I want more people in here, and I think casual games will help us get there. And that's one of the other things that I think that it's not necessarily like the Splinterlands roadmap, but part of the roadmap of what we want to do as a full gaming company. So like the development shop that is Splinterlands wants to produce some more casual games, maybe not as part of like the Splinterlands ecosystem. That might not make sense, but yeah, we want to get more games out there, and these things I think will make it a little simpler to do that.
This idea of a hyper casual game is something I've just learned within the last 48 hours. I mean, I'd heard it before, and we were chatting about, for those of you that don't know, Candy Crush, I believe, is one of the world's most played games. So one of my friends was talking about, kind of made fun of it. It'd be like guilds of mums that would play the hyper casual game, like Oprah shilling the new game.
Well, honestly, you might mock that, but
I like it. It's funny. I'm not mocking it. Like I appreciate it more than anything. Yeah, it's not a mocking laugh.
Okay, I'm on my 5th kid, and I'm thinking to myself, like, it's really hard for moms to go out there and like get full-time work. Like, you have a baby, you have a sleeping baby, and all around the world, that's a challenge. How, there's not always childcare. If there is childcare, it's too expensive. So how does a modern family navigate both having young infants, but also getting care, but also getting enough income into their family? That's growing more and more challenging. The Fed printing more and more money isn't helping any of us. So you need alternatives. And things like these blockchain play to earn games, and it could be learn to earn and other opportunities here, but being able to put the baby down, let it sleep for an hour or two, and you're going to go pick up your phone, play a game, and earn even $5 or $10, like $4 could be a daily earning in another country. And so if you could do that in an hour or two playing on one of these blockchain games, like that's not a small amount of money in a bunch of countries. And maybe to an American that's not the biggest deal, but certainly there are plenty of Americans where if you can make $4 to $10 an hour consistently playing a video game, that sounds a lot better to me than like hoofing it to a job where you're like smashing bricks all day, and I don't know, just not everybody can even do physical labor. Maybe you have an injury and you can't even get up and you're like, what am I going to do? How do I earn any kind of money? I don't know. I think play to earn is just like this really cool place where gamers can actually make a living, and the earnings from these companies can be decentralized. Like FIFA makes like $5 billion per year. Soccer is a giant international business, and EA, gets that 5 billion, and their investors get that 5 billion. If we could spread that 5 billion amongst all the play to earn people in the world, what a difference that would make. If like suddenly everybody, even if we took 1 million people and we get out there and now they have, we spread that, not spread the wealth, but give everybody the opportunity to earn some portion of that 5 billion, and maybe there's 1 million players doing it. That's like 5,000.
It's probably even way more too. Like the growth of these giant companies like Facebook, etc., you get nothing back at all. And the reason it works so much is because each one of us is on it. It's our aggregate community that makes these companies so fucking valuable. This participation in the network growth is so exciting to me. That's why I love.
So let's put it in the hands of ordinary people. Like the whole thing is
casual games for all.
Yeah, and but honestly, it's not just hyper casual. It's like any kind of game that you want to play, you should be able to play on the blockchain. It should be just as good as anything else that you've played before, but it should be a system that rewards you for playing and rewards you for excellence. And that's something that our business and our company has figured out how to do. We've run this for 3.5 years, and we plan to keep introducing more of it. And as we get more successful, we're going to keep launching more games and more projects and more tools. And the goal is, like I said at the very beginning, I want this world to be more prosperous, more free, and I think and more peaceful. And I think these games bridge that. If you're counting on scholars in other countries to help you make your money, you are less likely to want to bomb those countries. If you are doing business with a country that has a religion that's different than yours, you probably care less about their religion and more about making sure that like the business flows. So I think commerce as a way guarantees peace more than any other activity that we could possibly do. So I think these blockchain games that are cross blockchain, cross borders, cross any kind of stupid identity that you might be shoved in your face, or how you think of yourself, or how you want to be thought about what bucket the other person is in. No. They're your customer. You don't care who they are. You just want them to be safe, healthy, well, prosperous, so they can give you more money. And if we can do that everywhere, then I think we'll actually finally have peace. So I like these blockchain games. I like this play to earn community. I like the tools that we're building. I like, I've had the entire spectrum. I had a Filipino gentleman send me a picture of a bed, and he told me, I'm not sleeping on the floor anymore. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And I've had people send me pictures of cars. This is a car I bought my mother-in-law. She didn't think that she thought I was wasting all my time. And I showed her, he showed her with a freaking car. And I've now had probably a dozen people email me and say, hey, Aggie, I've been part of Splinterlands for a while, and now I'm a millionaire. And I just want to tell you, thanks. This has been a life-changing experience for me. Please go write some tax software for this. So, I've been across this entire spectrum. I have people that tell us how this game is helping them to feed families. And my goal is to build as much economic opportunity in the world with these games as possible for as many people across as many different spectrums as possible. And, I'm not here to guarantee the same outcome to everybody, but I want there to be a place where everybody can come invest a little bit of money and time and energy and thought and passion, and be able to find a way to earn more money than they would have otherwise. And I feel like if we can do that, we can, I don't know, make this world a little bit better than the way we found it.
Beautiful. So I've got just a few short, quick answer questions I'm going to fire your way, and then
Hit me.
okay. So the first one is still within this genre. The next few are probably not. I don't know. I'm going to discover what they are as I ask them usually. But first one, other blockchain games that have caught your eye and done something interesting that you like.
Yeah, I think Upland's pretty neat. They're trying to do this without like really as much tokenization as they could have. And I think that's a really interesting project. I know the guys over from Alien Worlds, and they're an eclectic bunch. They're pretty fun to watch. We wouldn't be here without the success that Axie has had. So you have to point to them and say that's been pretty cool. I think there are other projects that are here. I guess I would also warn people that building here is hard, and the most likely outcome of any new project will be they raise a bunch of money and produce exactly nothing. So I would just caution everybody, if it sounds too good to be true, in blockchain, it probably is. And, just understand that whenever you're trying to figure out, where to put money, that all of these projects are super risky, because
Yes.
I can't tell you how hard it is to be here.
Yeah, Aggroed, we've got a personal mantra that we all repeat here. It goes, tails, I only lose a little, heads, I win.
Yeah.
Just understanding the asymmetry of this space too. You said you had a few people that have done really well. I friends with Ken Bosak on Facebook, and he's always, yeah, bro. He's always posting about Splinterlands and the NFT sector. Aggie, it's been a pleasure to chat. I look forward to the next time we jump on a call. Thank you, Bear Family, for joining us today. I hope you guys enjoyed the live interview. Give us a thumbs up if you like this content. Leave your thoughts, your questions, your comments down below. I was going to ask some more questions, but we'll leave it short. We'll have you back on the show again in the future.
I'd love to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Aggie. And we'll keep you on just for a few minutes afterwards from the live stream. But to the rest of the Bear Family, thank you guys all for joining us today. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Aggie. Awesome.